Last year, I got the chance to work in a part of the world I never thought I'd get the chance to visit: Malaysia. With incredible landscapes, skilled crew, and generous tax incentives, Malaysia is fast becoming a location of choice for British film and television. So I thought I'd take the opportunity to film some of the places that the job took me, and make a little video showing what it's like working in this part of the world. So here is What's It Like Working in Malaysia? Let's see what the algorithm does with that title. For viewers new to the Set Design channel, just to let you know that this will be from the position of the art department. People working in other departments will have had different experiences. Let's get into it. Getting there. The flight over to Kuala Lumpur is 13 hours, which luckily flew by for me because the in-flight entertainment has the first 3 Kung Fu Panda movies. Being serious though, you will get bored, so do pack a book or something. Touching down in Kuala Lumpur, we all actually got a little bit disorientated upon initially arriving there. The 13-hour flight and the 7-hour time difference and the travel times in terms of getting to and from airports does mean that you end up losing about 24 hours of your time, but it's not really 24 hours, so it is quite confusing on the old body clock. Jet lag aside, Kuala Lumpur was incredible. Being my first time in Asia, it was quite a lot to take in at first. I was very glad to have some Malaysian members of production there, sort of being a tour guide for us for a little while. Between the skyscrapers, temples, giant shopping malls and food markets, there was a lot to take in. However, the reason we were there was to source props. We were actually going to be filming over in Langkawi Island, or more specifically, Langkawi, the archipelago of 99 islands. Sourcing props! Although Langkawi is far from being a remote outpost, there are towns there with stores. Home decor and furniture was generally quite limited, so we did need to source quite a lot of stuff in Kuala Lumpur before we shipped out to Honeymoon Island. Prop hire companies do exist, but they tend to cater more for corporate events rather than film and television. Considering the kind of show that we were making and the kind of locations we were going to, purchasing our props was always kind of going to be the way to go. This meant we got to visit quite a few Malaysian furniture stores. There of course was a IKEA, there were independent Malaysian furniture stores, there were homeware stores, hardware stores, fabric stores, and there was a guy who specifically sold beanbags. As well as these specific types of stores, there were quite a few stores that just sold a bit of everything. Most notable of which was of course Mr. DIY. Yes, Mr. DIY! They really do sell a bit of everything. Ignore the name, they are not just a DIY store, they sell everything from hardware to stationery to plushy cat cushions. They have about 2,500 stores across Southeast Asia, and I want one on my street. Our KL-based production buyer was very well connected and had a contact for literally anything. Thank you so much, Jay, would have literally been lost without you. Some of the fancier stores actually required us to take our shoes off before entering. This is a bit of a custom across Southeast Asia as far as I know. I actually quite enjoyed the novelty of walking around barefoot. Maybe we should introduce this in the UK. Would you walk around Dunelm barefoot? Leave a comment. Anyway, for our purposes, a few days was enough to source what we needed in Kuala Lumpur before getting it shipped up to Langkawi Island. Langkawi itself is of course not completely bereft of shops. There were hardware stores, fabric stores, florists, signage makers, and of course 3 branches of Mr. DIY. There were also some independent roadside everything stores, much like the ones in KL. One highlight for me was Gan's Warehouse, which was a upmarket hardware store and yacht chandlers. I could really look at yacht stuff all day. I should get a boat. The main limiting factor on Langkawi though was sourcing furniture. As I said before, most of that had to be sourced in Kuala Lumpur. It appears that most people who live on Langkawi tend to take a ferry back to the mainland if they're going to make a large purchase like furniture. Maybe keep this in mind when you work in other departments as well. I can hazard a guess that sourcing camera and lighting equipment is not much easier on that island. Construction methods. The sets out there seems to be put together with a framework built from a sort of modular truss system, which was then clad with plywood flattage. Any additional framework was generally made from what I believe was a South Asian hardwood called light red Meranti. Sheet material was generally hardwood ply. MDF was pretty much not used in this part of the world. The humidity would just turn it to porridge pretty quickly. The leading paint manufacturer in this part of the world is Nippon, a brand I had never heard of before, but it turns out they own Dulux, so thank you Wikipedia. Maybe try and source a swatch of theirs or install their colour palette on your Nix app if you need to get hold of some paint codes. When it comes to dimensions, generally speaking, both metric and imperial measurements are used without issue. Their tape measures, much like ours in the UK, have both units written on them. Of course, a huge shout out to our construction manager Michael Wong, our construction coordinator Evie Yap, and the entire build team, legends every single one of them. Logistics. Transport was usually carried out with 1 ton or 3 ton trucks out there. I have to say, as a truck nerd myself, Malaysia has strong truck game. Smaller loads of equipment and dressing was generally thrown into the back of our 4x4 pickup trucks. We had a team of drivers who would get us to our locations. Quite a few of them were off the beaten track, to say the least. Fun thing about crew cab pickup trucks is it doesn't take much to fill them up, so you can load about 4 boxes into the back of one and claim that you've done a lot of work because you've lifted a whole truck. As well as needing to get driven up dirt tracks to some of our locations were only accessible via boat. Do remember that Langkawi is an archipelago of islands. So loading equipment, crew, props and scenery on and off boats was a regular exercise. Boats are always exciting though, and being able to see the mangrove forest like this was a real experience. Aside from the dirt tracks, the jungles and the remote islands, travelling stuff around the roads of Langkawi was fairly straightforward as the traffic was fairly light, and having a top tier transport team helped out immensely. In terms of getting yourself around, cabs are pretty much the go-to. As soon as you land in Malaysia, you're probably going to want to download the Grab app, which is their equivalent to Uber. You can also use it to order food. Langkawi did not have much in the way of public transport, but KL did have a fair few options available, including a monorail, which I did not get a chance to ride on. Next time, KL, next time. The landscape! There's no other way to put it, the landscapes of Langkawi were incredible. Beautiful sandy beaches, dense jungles, mountain vistas, and tropical islands. Langkawi has everything. Cue the montage music. Like I have said, it is a tropical archipelago of islands covered in dense rainforests. Getting around is probably going to be your biggest issue when you go out there. Also, pack some walking boots. Langkawi in particular is a UNESCO geopark, meaning that there are some restrictions on what you can do to locations, so keep that in mind when you are working out there. Also, it's generally good practice when you are working on location to leave that location in as good, if not better condition than it was when you got there. It's an incredible part of the world though, and I did have to stop and look around sometimes just to remind myself how lucky I was to work in this environment. Talking of environment, climate. Mate, where are you? Climate was hot, humid and sweaty. If you struggle in the heat, I would generally... Do you want to go? You're off. Okay, bye mate. If you do struggle in the heat, I would think twice before signing up to a production in Southeast Asia. This really was a physical type of TV production, and working in the heat can really take its toll on you. In terms of manual labour, you will just not get as much done in a day in that heat and humidity as you would do in cooler climates. There is some respite when you get to go back indoors occasionally. Buildings are generally air conditioned out there, and of course when you're driving around. But when you are out there dressing, it will take its toll on you. You will also need to keep hold of bottles of water and bug spray and sun cream. Do you know what definitely has aircon though? Mr. DIY. I promise I'm not sponsored by Mr. DIY, but if anyone from the company is watching this, I will take your money if you want me to plug your brand. I am a corporate shill. As well as the heat and humidity, you also get quite intense rainstorms, and they come in quick and they come in hard. For this reason, you will want to pack a lightweight rain jacket and just try and get indoors as quick as possible if you see this coming in. Bonus entry, the wildlife. Being a tropical island, Langkawi is home to a wide array of wildlife. You may ask, what does that have to do with filming? Not much, but it is fun to look at it, so here we go. Langkawi is home to not one, but two breeds of monkey, one of which being the long-tailed macaque, which is generally found on the side of the road. And also the dusty leaf langur, which can be found high up swinging around in the trees. Lizards were all over the place, with skinks and monitor lizards found out in the wild, while the common house gecko was generally found in towns and cities. I also saw this cool tropical tree frog, which may be poisonous, I don't know. Although I didn't see any myself, snakes are generally quite common out there, and quite a few of the crew did see them. Creepy crawlers were also everywhere. We saw centipedes, spiders, dragonflies, and even a scorpion the size of my foot. There are also rumours of crocodiles out in the mangroves. Now, there's fairly little evidence of this, but I am not jumping in that water. And of course we couldn't do a bit on the wildlife of Langkawi without talking about birds of prey. As well as red kites and hornbills, the real icon of the region is the eagle, and boy do they love them. They have a 12-metre statue of redback seagull pointing out to sea, and if that's not enough, they have this mountaintop observation deck in the shape of, you guessed it, an eagle. This is slightly still relevant to what we were talking about, which is working in this environment. We're working in remote environments, and a lot of the sets that we would build out in the sticks would often get inundated with insects, for instance. As well as this, monkeys taking residence was actually a genuine concern. The build team had to seal the sets with tarps at the end of each build day. This was to protect from the weather as well as the wildlife. And one final animal thing, this cat stealing fish from a fishing jetty like he's in a goddamn cartoon. Right, back to work stuff. Miscellaneous stuff you do not expect. Plug sockets. Malaysia uses UK spec plug sockets. This might not mean much to anyone else in the world, but if you're coming from the UK, it means that you do not need to buy adapters. Hooray for us! Let's just gloss over why they use them, shall we? On the subject of problematic imperialism, American fast food actually has quite a big footprint in Malaysia, in particular KFC. The chicken is usually served with rice or mashed potato, which is absolutely fine by me because the chips in KFC are shite. Another American brand hitting it big in Malaysia is 7-Eleven. These are dotted all over the place and they are generally your saviour when it comes to picking up cold drinks while you're driving around. Although it's available, you're probably not going to want hot coffee while you're out there, so soft drinks are your go-to for a little pick-me-up throughout the day. If you fancy something a little bit more exciting and authentically Malaysian, you might want to try one of the night markets that sell all sorts of exotic foods. And the seafood restaurants really are a must-try. Shout out to Kapalaya, the best seafood restaurant on the island. It's on the side of the road, it's got a boat on the roof, and a jetty with a swing at the end. And the fish is pretty good too. What was I talking about? Oh yes, working in Malaysia. Travelling with work was one of the reasons I got into film and television in the first place. Throughout my career so far, I've been very lucky and been able to travel to some interesting places, and I really want that to continue. What are you doing? What? Come on. I never thought I'd be able to see this part of the world, and I wanted to share my experiences with people. I really hope this has been educational and also interesting and entertaining. I met some great people out in Malaysia. Everyone was really friendly. Thank you so much to the people of... Oi! Come on, off you go. I never thought I was going to see this part of the world, and I consider myself very lucky to have had the chance. Thank you so much to the wonderful people at Voltage TV and Revolution Media, and also thank you to the wonderful people of Malaysia for being so welcoming. Terima kasih. If you really enjoyed this kind of content and you'd like to see more, please leave a comment, consider subscribing. I'm Greg, this is the Set Design channel. Goodbye. It's gone dark.